guys, I'm Rosa, welcome. So it's that time of the month again where we sit down and talk about all the books that we read the previous month, also known as wrap-up time, whatever you want to call it. So I read a total of 11 books throughout June, which I feel like that's kind of average for me, to be honest. Although 4 of them I think were audiobooks, which for me is extremely weird because I don't do audiobooks. I didn't do audiobooks until I had to move, but now it's sort of become like my morning ritual. I listen to an audiobook when I make breakfast, when I shower, I don't know, when I make dinner as well. It's just, I don't know. I feel like I've nailed it. So like the whole listening to the audiobook, that was the part I couldn't figure out before. Don't ask me, I cannot tell you. There's no logic to it, okay, it's fine. But I've learned now. I've learned to listen. So 4 out of these 11 books, I think. I'm pretty sure it's 4 of them. I'm gonna have to check up my list, but oh my gosh, it's 5! 5 of my 11 books were audiobooks. Wow, how did that happen? Anyway, so we're gonna have some fun with this wrap up. I will make sure to leave links to all of the books in the description box down below, as well as make sure to leave chapters as well. So if you want to skip a book because you don't want to hear the synopsis or my opinion on it or whatever, you can skip ahead to the next one after that. So let's get started, shall we? As per usual, we're gonna start with the book club's primary pick. If you want to check out the book club, there's always a link to it in the pinned comment. But the book club's primary pick was The Witch Collector by Charissa Weeks, which I'm pretty sure that this was on Kindle Unlimited until recently. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was. But this is like fantasy romance. I'm just gonna maybe not use new adult anymore. I don't know, because like what is it? Like I don't know. But this falls under like romantasy, if you will. So we follow a girl who is from a small village where I think it's every year or something like that, there is a guy called the Witch Collector who comes by the village to pick up a witch that he brings to the Frost King's castle. And so a while ago her sister was taken, and this year she has decided that she's going to get picked and she's gonna take out her revenge on this Witch Collector for picking her sister that other year. But things don't really go to plan and everything's suddenly in chaos and the two of them have to take off together, and it turns out that she might not hate him as much as she thought she did. So lots of forced proximity in this one because they're on the run for a while. But I generally had a good time with this. I think certain parts of it like the pacing was a little bit weird, especially with the relationship between the two for me personally, but I would say in general I had a really good time with this. I thought it was very interesting as well that the way that magic is done in this world is someone drilling at 9 p.m. We're just gonna ignore that. But the magic in this world is basically like sung. However, our lead character is mute and therefore can't sing. So she's found like an alternative way to do magic, and I thought that was very interesting. I liked how the sign language part of it came into play as well. I'm always a little bit like, because I love dialogue in my books, I love banter and stuff like that. So I got a little bit scared, but she still talks. She just talks with her hands. So that's a stupid thing to be scared of, you know? Very dumb. I think I said the same thing about 6 Crimson Cranes, but that's because she can't actually communicate, not really in that one. So sign language, you know, just another way of speaking. I think I also was a little bit confused because it was a little bit repetitive at times. Like there was a lot of the same stuff at times, and so I think that's another pacing issue as well. But I would say in general I'm very intrigued by the world. I'm very intrigued by all of the world building there was as well, because it felt like there was a lot of it, and I really want to see more of the magic. So I'm definitely going to keep an eye out for the sequel, although now I can't read it on Kindle Unlimited. I'm pretty sure it was there. I'm pretty sure it was in KU. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to get my hands on the sequels. But yeah, I would say it was pretty successful. A good read, and I had a good time with it. The book club's secondary pick I listened to on audiobook, and it was The Sunbearer Trials by Aiden Thomas, which is a YA fantasy, and I don't know if this is one of those instances where the voice actor just kind of like half ruined it for me, but I struggled a little bit with this one, was a little bit irritated at it at times, so just want to preface this video, or this part of the video, by saying that. But in this one we follow Theo, who is a jade, oh gosh, how do I explain this? He lives in this world, bit of the world, where demigods live along with the gods and stuff, and sometimes, I can't remember if it's like, I don't think it's yearly, but sometimes they have to do this thing called the Sunbearer Trials, where they have to sacrifice someone. Someone wins and becomes the Sunbearer, but then the loser of the trials has to be sacrificed to whoever keeps this thing that happened in history in place. So like, to basically avoid chaos, they have to sacrifice someone to this god soul. Yes. And so they throw these Sunbearer Trials. And usually there are only demigods chosen to participate in the Sunbearer Trials. And Theo is not a demigod. He is what they would call, I can't remember exactly what the term is, but he's not, they're called the golds, the gods and the demigods, and he's a jade. So he's like not on the same level as the others, which is so rude, but it's the way their world is built up. But for the Sunbearer Trials, he's picked for some reason, along with another jade guy who is called Shio. And so the two of them automatically are not trained to be a part of this trials, because the golds are literally, they go to an academy to train for these trials. The two of them have not had that luxury. So they decide to team up with a girl called Nia, and the three of them work together to go through these trials. And with the story as well, there are plot twists. There's a little bit of like, definitely I thought it was a standalone. Surprised by the end when it turned out that it wasn't, but I was also like, okay, this very obvious romance plot that is kind of brewing, why is it not blossoming? Like, why is this just kind of like brewing underneath the surface? Turns out because there's definitely going to be a sequel. At least one, possibly two, like, I don't know. So there's a little bit of that as well. However, it's not really coming through in this one. But my problem with this book was that I think I'm at a spot right now with my reading where I just don't really do well with like modern language in YA books. And especially Nia as a character. First of all, Theo freaked out all the time, and I was very annoyed by the voice actor who was constantly like yelling his parts. I thought that was so annoying, but also just like calm down. Calm down a little bit. I thought Nia was so annoying to listen to, like very superficial character, and it was kind of the same for Aristella a little bit as well. I think the only character that I actually fully liked was Aurelio. Because he was just like cool and chill and calm, and I'm like, yes, this is my vibe. The rest of them, not really. I also did not like Shio for a variety of reasons, and also overall actually felt like the story was a little bit predictable. So it wasn't necessarily, like, it wasn't really for me, but I can see why other people would like it. I like the whole like setup as well, because with the gods and stuff like that, I felt like that was pretty cool. But maybe I've also just been reading too many trial books recently or something, and that just kind of like influenced my opinion on the book as well. Also, like, why were so many, like, their outfits, every time they got a new outfit, it was described in detail, but like the world, the different parts of the world that they traveled to, they weren't really described in detail as much as the outfits, and I'm like, I don't need to know the outfits. Like, this is not a fashion book. It's not Confessions of a Shopaholic, you know? I want to know what the world looks like, because this seems like a very original kind of world, but it just wasn't really super well described, in my opinion. So yeah, that was a little bit, I don't know. But I can see why other people would like it. It just didn't hit me at the right, like, I feel like I didn't read it at the right time, if that makes sense. I'm just in that phase right now where those kinds of YA books with like modern language and, you know, a little bit more like, it was a little bit too YA for me right now. Does that make sense? I hope so. But anyway, I kind of want to talk about another audiobook just to get it over with very quickly, because I also listened to The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley, and I think I mentioned it in either my last wrap up or one of the vlogs that I have released on the channel recently, and I don't remember what this book is about at all. Like, I cannot remember. All I vaguely remember is that a guy goes missing at this Paris apartment and his sister shows up and she's trying to figure out what happened to him, but like I cannot remember the characters. I cannot remember the plot twists. I can't. So with that in mind, probably didn't do that much of an impression on me. Because I've not had that problem with the other audiobooks that I've listened to. It's just this one. Like, it just, I don't know. Feels very weird to just not really, like, I don't remember any of the details. Not really. I can't remember any of the opinions I had either while reading it. So we're listening to it. So with that, you know, said, we're gonna move on to the next one because I got nothing to add. But it also kind of screams like it couldn't have been that great if I just can't remember it. You know what I mean? Then as a continuation of a book that I've also read with the book club, I picked up Ambrosia, which is by C.M. Crawford, but it's the sequel to Frost. It's also only a duology to my surprise. I feel like I could have wanted a little bit more of this world, and I also think it would have done the book some good if there was a little bit more to it. Just want to say. But in Frost, we follow our lead girl who is a fae, but she's been fae living among the humans and therefore not super liked because humans suck. So anyway, but one day she comes home after work. She has gotten off work early and is going home to celebrate her boyfriend's her own birthday actually. But like she's bringing the cake because her boyfriend sucks. Which is also proven by the fact that when she arrives at home, he's lying in bed with another girl. And so our lead girl, has to just take off because suddenly she's not in her apartment and it's like she has supported him so much and he's just like, nah, this is the love of my life, you can leave, bye-bye. So she ends up at a bar with her best friend and the Fae King, somehow shows up at this bar. It turns out that he's throwing this like competition with Fae women because he needs to find a queen. He needs to find a Fae woman to marry. And so they have a little bit of a run-in. It's not necessarily going great, but she's like, I am not interested in you at all. And he's like, this is good because I cannot have anybody fall in love with me for reasons. And so I need you to compete with these other psycho girls, please. I'll pay you. And she's like, oh, you're paying me? Okay, I'll do it. Okay. And so she takes off to Fairy, competes, and things go really, really crazy. Yeah. Well, that's not what this is about at all, because this is the sequel. This was not great. I don't know. I loved the first one. I thought it was so good. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not like a masterpiece in literature in any way whatsoever, but it was fun. Fun and fast-paced. Loved the competition part of it. Loved the psychoness. Just loved it all. Loved this whole like, there's a slight like, underlying like what the heck going on as well. This had none of that. Like, this really just had none of it. And that's such a disappointment, because I needed more of it. So, you know, it was a letdown. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry that it was a letdown. I just feel like the pacing was also off at times and I got confused, and then it was like really predictable all of a sudden. I'm just like, yeah. So that sucks. But the first book is really good. Just pretend like it's not a duology and you're fine, okay? Yes. As for another sequel that I read, I finally picked up Nona the Ninth, which is the third book in the Locked Tomb series, and this is so I remember every time I had to explain what this is about, I get confused. Which if you read the books, you would understand. So, like, this is, Let me try to tell you what Gideon the Ninth is about. So, we follow Gideon the Ninth, who is from the Ninth House. So she's from a planet called Ninth House, and she just wants to get off of this planet. She does not like it there. She does not want to be there. She just wants to leave. So she's been trying to do this for years. She has made many attempts to leave, but just can't nail any try. Like, she's just stuck on Ninth House. But then one day, this girl called Harrow comes up to her. Harrow is like, she's the daughter of the leaders of Ninth House, so she has some powers, if you will. She's also a necromancer, so like she's good with bones. She's good at making bone constructs. And so she comes up to Gideon and is like, I have gotten a request from God, or whatever his name is, the Emperor, because he's looking for lictors. But I can't go to this first house planet, or whatever planet they end up, I can't remember exactly. I think it's planet, the first house. I think it's at the first house where the trials are. But I can't go if I don't have a cavalier with me, a swordsman. So we can make a deal. If you go with me as my cavalier, I will let you leave when we're done. And Gideon is like, okay, that is enough for that is too good to refuse. So the two of them take off to first house, or this first planet, so that Harrow can become a lictor. And when they're there, it's like very confusing. There's a lot of other people there also trying to become lictors, and a lot of stuff happens. But I will say, as someone who actually really enjoys this series, I do see that it's one of those instances that either you like it and you kind of just go with the weirdness of it, or you just don't. Like, you either just enjoy it for what it is, super weird, kind of like, what the heck is going, like, you're kind of just like, what the heck is going on half of the time, or you just don't like it. And I fully respect that. I enjoy the series. I will say, this did not live up to the other two, unfortunately, but that said, I also know that this was supposed to have been a trilogy, and Nona the Ninth kind of came to life while Tamsin was writing the fourth book, which is called Alecto the Ninth. So this was not supposed to have been a book on its own, and historically that's not really a good start for a book, because then you already kind of have like the plot set out, and then you need to add stuff to it, and it just becomes a little bit like full with filler, you know? So the first half of this was very, very slow. There's a lot of her usual kind of humor, but once you kind of gotten over laughing about it, you're just like, okay, when will stuff start to happen? And it doesn't really start to happen until the 50% mark. And not in the same way that Gideon does it, because in Gideon you still get leads now and then throughout the first half. A lot of them, but you're just like, what? Why is nothing happening? And then suddenly all these leads start to make sense because the plot starts to move. Whereas in this one, sure, we got a little bit of that going on, but like not nearly as enough as in Gideon. And I think for me personally, I also like the character of Gideon a little bit more than I like Nona. Sorry. I feel like I can say that though, because Nona has a problem with redheads. I'm just saying. Like, she does not like redheads. So it might be the whole, like, whenever I've said to people who read The Locked Tomb that I'm gonna read Nona, they're always like, oh, you will love Nona, and Nona will love you, or Nona loves you, and I'm like, I can mention at least 3 times where she's very clear that she does not like redheads. So, just want to say, am I offended? No, whatever. I think the whole thing with it basically coming from Alecto the Ninth makes it a little bit slow. Like, the pacing is a little bit off. Once it gets going though, it really gets going. So, but you also gotta, with these books, you really gotta just pay attention to stuff and remember the story and remember names, and there's a lot of those. I will say one thing I enjoyed in this one was that without spoiling anything, there's chapters in between Nona's stories that have a lot of world building in them, like a lot. And I really enjoyed that because that was stuff that was not, it's not info dumpy. I didn't feel like it was info dumpy. In fact, I was looking forward to those chapters quite a lot while reading it, but it was related to you in a way that was a little bit different from the other ones, and it definitely sorted out some stuff with this universe that I had been a little bit confused about in the previous books. So that was really cool, but also just a little bit slow at times in the first half. So if you like the other Locked Tomb books though, you will most likely like this one as well. And Nona will love you, just not if you're a redhead, apparently. I'm just kidding. But she just, I don't know, she made some funny comments. Next up, as part of the Twisted read-along that I'm doing with the book club as well, we finished Twisted Love by Anna Huang, which is the first book in that series. We're currently reading Twisted Games, which, yes, but this one... No, actually, I really enjoyed this one, just want to say. So in this one, what's her name? Ava? We follow Ava. Ava is a little bit of a hopeless romantic, but she's also dealing with some kind of memory loss. Like, something happened to her when she was younger. Someone tried to kill her, or specifically her mom tried to kill her, and she's been dealing with phobia and memory loss due to this. So that's a whole thing with Ava. What she really wants in life is just to be loved. And we also have this other guy whose name is Alex, who is unable to basically love. At least he says so. you know the situation. So what happens though is that Ava's brother, Josh, has to go on a residency at this, is it in Africa or something, South America? I genuinely cannot remember, but he has to go to this place to help them. And meanwhile, he asks Alex if he can keep an eye out for Ava. So Alex decides to move into Josh's house, which is next to Ava's house, to keep an eye on her. And the two of them slowly start to get closer and, you know, ... Oh, Alex also has a history because something happened to his parents and he's out for revenge. He's a little bit of a psycho, just like a little bit. But I can respect him for it as well, a little bit. So that's Twisted Love. It was a fun time. I will say pacing wise, a little bit like off at times. Suddenly they were just like all over each other where I was just sitting like, oh, what? Did we already get to that point? Okay. But I like the whole Alex's part of the story, although that got lost as well throughout like 100 pages that wasn't even mentioned once, like his revenge plot, because there was that going on as well. Considering it's a 380 page book, 350, there's a whole lot going on with both of the characters and also the characters' relationship with each other. Like there's a lot going on. So pacing wise was a little bit weird at times. I feel like I wanted to do a whole lot, but with 350 pages, you kind of just you can't do it all. Although we'll say, no, I can't say that because spoiler. Never mind. It also kind of makes sense. Yes. As for what this actually is, it's like, it's a lot of steam. Do I want to call it smut? Nah, because do I want to call it smut? Is it enough to be smut? Maybe it might be smut. I don't know. I don't know where my line is anymore for when I call books smut. There was some in it though, and it was alright. I had a good time talking about it with the book club. I had a lot of fun actually with this, so also having a lot of fun talking about Twisted Games now. So but it's not stuff that I can necessarily talk openly about on YouTube without getting in trouble with YouTube, so we're just gonna leave it there. But yeah, if you're looking for something like contemporary romance with, you know, a little bit of that, this is pretty cool. Twisted Games so far, I'm 50% through it, is a lot better though. We'll say. A lot better. But that doesn't mean that is bad. Just want to say. Then I read, which one are we gonna do? Let's actually do I finished this yesterday as an audiobook, but decided to just include it in this video anyway because why not? So I listened to Twilight, which by Stephanie Meyer. Yes, that Twilight. I listened to that Twilight. I was kind of like, it was available on Libby and I just felt like in the moment, for nostalgia's sake, let's just give it a go. The whole experience of listening to Twilight, so I read the books when I was a teen. Basically, my friends wouldn't talk about anything else for like 2 months straight. Like, I kid you not. Nothing else for 2 months straight. So I was like, Mom, can I have this book? My friends are not talking about anything else and I feel left out. Can I have this book? And she was like, okay, you want to read books? I got you. So I read the books, all 4, very quickly. And by the time I finished, they stopped talking about the books. I will say, back then I was very much not into romance at all, so it wasn't my cup of tea. Because I felt like it was very like, they were so over each other, or all over each other, very, very quickly. Way too quickly for my liking. I'm not as slow now to liking people as I was back then, but I'm still pretty slow. Back then though, like turtle tempo. Very, very slow, very careful. So the whole like jumping in both feet that quickly for both of them, like they literally talked 3 times by the time Bella's like, I love him. That was ridiculous to me. Listening to Twilight as a grown-up though is a whole different experience because now I also realize how toxic and bad, unhealthy their relationship is. Like I'm also not going to talk about the plot because I feel like everyone already knows, which is why I just jumped straight to my opinion, but it was a whole different experience. So having now also dated people since reading the books, no, their relationship is definitely not a healthy one. What bothered me more though was that, and this is not something that I noticed when I was a teen, but Bella just is not very likable to me. She's so mean when it comes to her friends. Like, she just thinks that they're ridiculous. She doesn't listen to them when they talk. she thinks, especially Jessica, the way that she thinks about Jessica, you know, because you're reading her thoughts, she's so mean. Like, why are you hanging out with her if she's so mean? But also, what bothers me more is that she's so like, I don't fit in, I can't blend in, but like your average height, brown hair, and brown eyes, you literally blend in. I'm only saying that as a tall redhead who feels like sometimes, you know, it would be nice to walk down the street and not feel like it's a lot. So I don't know why why Stephanie Meyer felt like writing exactly that, but maybe it's just because I'm not a teenager anymore, so like I don't remember exactly your thoughts. It's a teenager and feeling like you just don't fit in anywhere, like maybe it's that. But yeah, I think that's probably my biggest I listened to the whole thing, just want to say, but I also got very tired of it at the end. But like that was my biggest minus for this book, is that Bella, just something that I hadn't noticed as a teen, but she's just not likable to me, unfortunately. So I think that's all I gotta say for this one. But it was really fun, like seeing how opinions shift with time when you're a little bit more mature than you are as a teenager. I like that part of it. Like you just notice completely different things with the book and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I'm not listening to the sequels because I can't have it. Also, New Moon. I don't want to be on the Twilight dissing train right now, but like the whole New Moon is no. Okay, no. So we're just not gonna, I'm gonna stop it right there. It wasn't worth it. It's fine. But if you love Twilight, by the way, I do not judge you one bit. People like different things for different reasons, and that is completely okay. One of my very best friends is actually a huge fan of Twilight, and I don't fault her for it. So, but that means we have, how many books? 3, possibly? So let's talk about another YA, like, back in the day kind of book that I listened to on audiobook. Divergent by Veronica Roth, which I have not read before. I've watched the movie several times. At least, like, I've watched all the movies, but like the first one especially several times. So I kind of already knew what it was about, what was going to happen and stuff. The book is still different, vastly different from the movie, which was actually nice. Like because I remember the movie so well, but the book just like had so many different things to it. So that was really cool. I don't know if I need to say what that's about either, because like it's been everywhere at some point. So I don't think I'm gonna go do that. I don't think I'm gonna do that. But I really enjoyed it and I really want to continue. All I know is that the 4th one was I know it's been called a train wreck, so a little bit nervous about that one. But if you think I should continue with the Divergent series, let me know. I at least know that I enjoyed the first 3 books, or not books, movies. Aren't there 4 total? It's funny because I can't remember the titles at all because I don't know what the words mean. So I just like I know one of them is Insurgent. I just still don't know what it means, but yeah, if I should continue, if they're worth it, let me know, because I think they're available a lot of the time on, like, they're available most of the time on Libby. They're not the most listened to audiobooks, or they just have a lot of copies or something, so I think they're easily available. So let me know if I should do that, because I actually really enjoyed the first one. Just let me know if the 4th one kind of ruins everything for me, and I'll look back on my experience listening through the books and be like, ugh, why? Because like I hate when that happens. So just let me know. But we have 2 more books left then. I read the sequel to Neon Gods by Katie Robert, which is a part of the Dark Olympus series, and these are mainly fantasy romance. First one was definitely leaning on erotica. This one not so much. Again, like my line has moved a little bit. So like I don't know how much smut there needs to be in a book anymore for it to be erotic. But I don't think this is. Just like Neon Gods is a retelling of Hades and Persephone, though, this is Eros and Psyche. Is it not Eros? Yes. So we follow Psyche, who, I hope I'm pronouncing their name correctly, but who is a social media influencer, also a daughter of, can I not remember her name at all? One of the goddesses in Olympus. Wait, what's her name? Demeter! There we go. So Psyche is a daughter of Demeter, Eros is a son of Aphrodite. Aphrodite and Demeter hate each other, especially Aphrodite hating on Demeter. And so the 2 of them are like a no-go, but they have a run-in. Things just kind of, They get a little bit close. Don't over, just a little bit. Not much, but a little bit. Someone snaps a picture and things suddenly start to go a little bit. Everyone's like, they're dating. Oh my gosh, they're dating. What about their parents? They're dating. And like, they cannot date. So what Aphrodite does is she orders Eros to basically go kill Psyche, which Eros is Aphrodite's fixer, so that's something he does on the regular. Not kill Psyche specifically, but kill people for Aphrodite. And when he meets up with Psyche, he's like, I'm not gonna kill you. We're gonna get married instead. That sounded weird coming out of him, but that happened in the book. He did a 180 and was like, you know what, I don't feel like killing you. Let's get married. But this means Aphrodite gets really, really pissed. And that's what the book is about. Them basically going through this marriage of convenience, having mothers who hate this marriage of convenience, and having Aphrodite try to kill Psyche both left and right all the time. And them slowly growing closer. Because they really want each other, even though they don't want to admit it. That's a thing. But yeah. I enjoyed this. I feel like, was it amazing? No. Was it an amazing romance? No. Like, there was a little bit of a disconnect, but I still enjoyed it. I read through it very quickly. I didn't really have a problem with it per se, but it wasn't amazing either. It was just kind of like, you know, fluffy. You know? Like, it was just kind of fluffy. It didn't make me feel much, but I still kind of just like, you know, it was an easy read. An easy fluffy read. So, Aphrodite though, as a character, freaking hate her. Like, you can go F off. I do not. You're annoying. What? Ha. What the heck? What the heck, my dudette? Best point of this was Psyche. I don't actually know how to pronounce her name, but was her confidence and Eros's non-confidence. I like that contrast, so that was the best part of it. Yes, and then that means we're at the last one, which took me a while to get through. I think I started this book in April, not because I didn't enjoy it, but just because I'm incredibly slow, because I've been reading all other books. But I finished Some Desperate Glory by Emily Tesh, which is a science fiction. And this is the Illumicrate edition. I hate this cover so much. I'm sorry I had to say that, but I hate it. Not the Illumicrate version, like not what they did with it. But I hate this cover. Okay, I don't hate it. I just don't love it. It's just meh. Like it's just meh, you know, like there's nothing to it. But in this one, we follow Kier, who is what they call a war breed. Okay, this is gonna be confusing. This is sci-fi. Just want to preface this synopsis by this is sci-fi, okay? Things are gonna get weird. Okay? Okay, get settled. Let's get started. So, we're in the future. Humans are basically almost non-existent at this point. Planet Earth has been blown into pieces. And so we have this little part of humanity left at this war station that I cannot remember the name of, but that's also not important. One of the characters, one of the girls at this war station is Kier. What they do at this war station is that they breed what they call war breeds. Yes, breed. This is what humans have ended up doing in the future. Breeding. But they need these war breeds to make sure that they can defend themselves when aliens attack, so that's what they have to do. And Kier has consistently been one of the top female soldiers at the station. Her brother is also one of the top guy soldiers. But then when the day comes that Kier and her crew have to be assigned to different tasks, Kier for some reason ends up in the nursery, which means that she had just basically, how do I put this? Her task is to have babies, not necessarily willingly, definitely not willingly, but that's her task. And Kira's like, no, I don't want to do that. So she sets off, also because her brother or somebody goes missing, so she sets off with this other guy who's a bit of an outsider in this whole war station, like nobody likes him. Not for super valid reasons, but nobody likes him, so he's just kind of like alone. He's also a little bit of a genius, but she sets off with him to find her brother, and things go absolutely bonkers. Yes. If you didn't think that was weird already, it's gonna get really, really weird at this point. Like, very weird. Very... Don't think like Locked Tomb weird, but just like, oh my god, really? Like that kind of weird. So you got a lot to keep track of in this one. Yes, maybe it is a bit like it. Well, there has actually been comparisons to The Locked Tomb, but I wouldn't necessarily say that, having read both of them, I don't, in some way, just don't go into it wanting Locked Tomb humor, but, well, maybe a little, nah, I don't know. Locked Tomb is so unique, which this also is, but just not unique in the same way. There's a lot going on in this book though, just want to say. So this was a ride, and like it starts very early on, because Kier is assigned to nursery very, very early on, and basically the moment she decides to leave, the book basically goes on like a high-speed train, and then it doesn't stop until the book is done. So there's so much going on in this book. The only reason it took me so long was that it's sci-fi, so I have to not read too much of it at the same time, or I get kind of fed up. Like, all the terms, they're so foreign to me, so I just kind of like have to read it in bits and pieces, you know, like a little bit by bit. So that was why it took me so long, but this was so much fun. If you don't think about the whole nursery part too much, I hated that part. I hate the whole concept of, I hate it so much. Ugh, no. Yikes, big freaking yikes. But this was a lot of fun. Like, aside from that part, it was a lot of fun. Also a little bit sad at times, but a lot of fun overall, I would say. So much going on though, like so much action, so little time, so much action. I had one of those moments while reading this where you've been basically imagining one character. For me, it was the alien who they have, you know, bring with them and stuff. There's an alien they bring with them. Not a spoiler. But I imagine him in one way, and then by the end, it was highlighted that he was small, and I was like, wait a minute, wasn't he like 7 feet tall? Or no, he was like 4. Was someone else that 7 feet tall? Like, I just always imagined, so Kier and her brother are basically like huge. Like, Kier is described to be, I think, about 6'1" or something, which is like 185 or 6 or something if you use centimeters instead. I'm just saying feet because that's what they say in the book. But she's around that height, which is pretty tall for a woman. Her brother is like, I think she's about that height, but her brother is basically described to be like much, much taller, like way taller than men are in our time. Maybe in the future at some point, but not right now. So I was like, pretty sure that this alien was described to be taller than both of them, and then at some point it's just like, he's so small. And I'm like, what? No, can you carry him? Like it just kind of threw everything upside down. Ironically, for this book, if you read it, you know what I mean. So I will say, and I said this in my review on Goodreads as well, that the cover, I don't like this cover. I like the US cover a little bit more. I'll put it up over here. But my problem with it is that Kier in that cover does not look like she's described at all. She's described to be like huge, bulky, muscular, very tall, and she just looks like a little bit of like an average build girl. So I hate that a little bit. Like, I hate it just a little bit. I hate it just put a bulky girl on the cover. Just put a big muscular girl on the cover. It's fine. You're not landing more male readers by not doing that, you know? I don't know. So anyway, I think that was my wrap up. Did I miss anything? Oh, I did. I have one more surprise. I listened to One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston, which is it's not a fantasy there's a little bit of science fiction to it, which is why I'm like, what is it? It's contemporary romance, but there's a question of like, I don't know if I want to call it time travel, because it's not really that. We follow our lead girl who is, she's commuting by train, and then one day or like metro, I suppose it is. But one day, tube, because it takes place in London. Not metro, tube. So one day though, on the tube, she runs into this girl who, her name is Jane. August and Jane. That's their names. Okay, but August runs into Jane, who dresses a little bit not for this decade, if you will. And the two of them talk. They have a little bit of a meet cute. And then August leaves and she's just so taken with Jane. So she basically plans her entire like trip every day so that she can end up on the same tube as Jane, which she does, more or less. But it turns out that Jane is there's a situation going on there, because Jane doesn't just not dress like we do in our time. Like, she's wearing like ripped jeans, a leather jacket, a band t-shirt. She has short black spiky hair-ish, you know, that sort of situation. But she also has a Walkman, and she doesn't get modern day references. she's just kind of like, she feels like she's a little bit from out of time. Like she doesn't really belong in our time. And lo and behold, turns out that she also doesn't. She doesn't belong in our time. So that's a whole thing in this book. They're trying to figure out, where does Jane come from and how does she end up on this tube? Why is she stuck on this tube? It was cute. It was cute. It was fun. I'm trying to remember exactly what I thought about it because apparently I can't remember more than one audiobook at a time. I listened to this very early on in June, so it's been a while. But as per usual with Casey McQueen, or per usual, I've only read Red, White, and Royal Blue, but I really loved that book. I loved this a little bit less. I liked it a little bit less, but still very, very enjoyable. I like the humor in it. There's a whole lot of queer rep in this, by the way, if that's something that you're looking for. Just want to say, like, a whole lot. I'm pretty sure there's not a single straight person in this book. I can't remember one at least. I'm fairly sure they're all queer. So if that is something that you're looking for, definitely go give it a go, or give it a try if you will. But the humor is just, it's very McQuiston. And I will say, reading about, so they're stuck on a tube, right? And how do I explain this? We're entering dangerous YouTube territory again, but like reading about private moments on the tube felt a little bit strange. Just like a little bit, like, are they really on the tube? Are you really gonna on the tube? But yeah, okay, if you're into that, just don't do it while I'm in the same cart as you, okay? Just, I don't want to be there, you know, that's all. I think I at times also got a little bit confused with it, and there were times when it kind of slowed down a little bit pace-wise, but overall a pretty enjoyable experience. And also, oh wait, I did have one issue, but that was with one of the characters, because her voice, the voice actor, it was a voice actor thing. I listened to my audiobooks on 1.4. That's what I found is the best speed for me. But she made one of the characters talk like really, really fast. And she just had a little bit of an annoying way of talking, and it bothered me after a while. But like, it wasn't necessarily, it didn't have anything to do with what the character said, it was just how it was said. So that was kind of like grinding my gears just a little bit. But overall I would say I had a pretty good time with it. So now that I think about it, didn't it take place in London? But the voice actor was American. I'm pretty sure they keep talking about the tube. I'm confused. I did not, it's been a while since I read this book, so yeah. I might be, my details might be a little bit hazy, but anyway, that's it. That's the wrap up. I'm pretty sure I didn't miss anything this time. Nope, I nailed it. Anyway, so I hope you all enjoyed this one. Again, if you want to check out the books, they're all linked to in the description box down below. And if you've read any of them yourself, let me know what you thought of them in the comments. If you want to check out the book club, again, there's a link to it in the pinned comment. But that's all I got for you guys today, so I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to hit the thumbs up, and if you want to see more videos like this from me, but also other booktube stuff like vlogs and book hauls, bookish unboxings, all of it basically, definitely consider sticking around by clicking on the subscribe button. I'm gonna leave you to it now though. This video has been long enough as it is, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye! Oh, you know you're beautiful.